Hi,
Are you
thank you for having me.
vaccinated? Are you
No,
vaccinated
I'm
yet?
not vaccinated.
Not yet.
No, not yet. I
Not
am
yet.
not.
Okay.
I am waiting.
Excellent. It's good news that the world is getting vaccinated all, finally. So how are things in Bangkok? I mean, we don't hear a lot of things from Thailand, sadly, but we've heard recently that Thailand is going through a third wave of, well, all countries have probably gone through this third wave. But how's it on a day-to-day basis there? How's life in Bangkok?
I would say life in Bangkok is definitely not back to normal. We were not expecting to be hit by a third wave. So it really came as a surprise, when in March we entered the third wave and another partial lockdown. But I think everybody is happy to know that today is the official day of mass vaccination in Thailand with a mix of locally produced AstraZeneca and imported Sinovac vaccine from China. So I think everybody is really looking forward to more and more people getting vaccinated because only 3% of the population has been vaccinated so far.
Sorry, how many? Maybe the emergency services and whatnot, they've been vaccinated, perhaps. So are there general lockdowns across the city right now?
They are not general lockdowns. They are partial lockdowns, which means that restaurants have to close by 9 p.m. and malls as well. They are not allowed to serve alcohol. But otherwise, everybody has to wear a mask. We have to take, like the security measures as usual. But we don't have like a severe lockdown of that as we had last year. And that's a very severe critique from Thai society, because that's also one of the reasons why we have difficulties mitigating the third wave.
Business has been affected with all this. I mean, across the globe, everybody is suffering. Everybody is under pressure. Has tourism affected Thailand? I assume it has.
Tourism has definitely been affected in Thailand, especially the hospitality industry and the food and alcohol industry as well. Obviously, the tourists cannot come into Thailand unless they are going through quarantine or they have been vaccinated. And we have good news that, in Phuket in July, tourists will be able to come to Thailand again if they are vaccinated, and if they will be able to stay 14 days in Phuket before they can travel around Thailand. So I think it's good for business in Phuket that tourists will be able to come back.
I've been to Phuket. Phuket is not a bad place to be quarantined, I must admit. I wouldn't mind being quarantined there myself. But let's talk about AstraZeneca. They're locally producing it now in Thailand. Is this a welcoming thing by the locals? How have they responded?
So I would say that, the response from the Thai government to get vaccines, doses into Thailand or to locally produce them, it was too slow. The government waited the second wave to start discussion and finally to announce that they will locally produce AstraZeneca. In January, it has generated a lot of criticism because locally produced by Siam Bioscience, which is owned by the monarchy. So everybody was questioning why locally produced, knowing that it's going to be very slow. Why not import different vaccine to be able to vaccine everybody? So I would say people are not happy the way that the response has been handled, but people are happy that finally we will all be able to be vaccinated. But what I'm seeing I'm talking about the Thai population aged 18 years old and above that will be able to get vaccine in hospital, in non-vaccine centers, just as malls. But when it comes to foreigners, non-Thai nationals, there has been this very controversial polemic with ethnic bias, where the Thai government said on 4th of May, Thai national first and foreigners after. 2 days later, they revert what they said. But in practice today, foreigners trying to access the registration for vaccine were not able to access it.
Wow.
So obviously, it's still an ongoing process for the Thai government, and criticism it's still will continue. But
Indeed.
In general, people are happy that finally there's mass vaccination happening.
Well, I was going to. I mean, we've heard. I've interviewed people across the world, and some people in Europe. A lot of people in England don't want to be vaccinated. Some people in Europe don't want to be vaccinated. In Southeast Asia, everyone says, "Yeah, sure, give me the shot." They're happy to be vaccinated?
I think it depends on people, but to be honest, people don't want to die, right? And I think with the third wave, people realize that, okay, we need to be vaccinated, because what happened in Thailand is that we were all very happy. We were among the top 3 countries that were able to mitigate the virus with no local transmission sometimes per day, And then all of a sudden we are hit by the second wave, and then hit by the third wave, which is the most deadly wave. And we saw everybody around the world getting vaccine, except us.
Right.
Only today, the mass vaccination is happening only today when the whole world is already getting vaccine. So obviously people were waiting to get vaccine. You can see the lines in malls, you can see the lines in hospital. Everybody is looking forward to get vaccine. All the foreigners are on Twitter. Everybody's asking, where can we get vaccine? Why can we not get vaccine? Why is the online form not working? So yes, I would say people really want to get vaccine because we see how the third wave is deadly.
Now we're hearing this new variant in Australia, the Delta variant. I don't know where they come up with all these names, by the way. They have a new name for a different variant every day. But I know Australia's miles away from Thailand, but I guess there's some kind of traffic that goes through probably Australia and Thailand. Is that something that people there are worried about, these new variants?
I think people are aware of all the new variants coming to Thailand, and I think people are more not necessarily coming from Australia, but coming from other countries as well. There was the UK variant, and there was the Indian variant. Now people are talking about the Australian variant. So I think what people are most aware of is how people can enter Thailand. Like how come those variants can enter Thailand? If the system is very strong, if there's a good screening, if people are being quarantined and are being tested, why are those variants coming into Thailand?
Indeed.
So this is also the criticism that the people are giving to the Thai government. How are you allowing those variants to enter the country? Is there any bypass for people? Are people paying borders to enter the country? So really, there's a lot of criticism, and that's also one of the response from the Thai government is worrying, is that they have created this new anti-fake news center under the Ministry of Justice, the DSI, and they are going after critics of people criticizing the government's response to COVID-19. So in order to silence people criticizing the government, they're coming up with cyber police and charging people for criticizing the government or for spreading fake news around COVID-19.
Wow.
So that's how they are trying to mitigate criticism.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's not an easy time for anyone around the world. And certainly governments are under a lot of pressure right now to do the right thing. When you said these mass vaccinations, are we talking about people getting thousands of people a day getting vaccinated at the same time? Is that what you mean by mass vaccinations?
I think by mass vaccination, we are talking about everybody will be allowed now to get vaccine. Before it was open to...
There's no age restriction. I mean, for example, here they started with the oldest first. It was like the 70 plus, then the 60 plus, 50 plus. Everybody's getting vaccinated there.
So before the mass vaccination, it was by age, it was priority, it was by health-specific conditions, and by people who are the front line of the fight against the COVID-19 vaccine. But now, since today, the mass vaccination means that everybody, no matter your health conditions, if you're above 18 years old and Thai national, you will be able to get vaccine. If you're a foreigner, we are supposed to benefit from from vaccination on an equal basis, but that's not really true because we are still not able to register. So I don't think that the Thai government is ready to implement.
Is it done online, Emilia? Do you do it online? Is there an app? Is an app or something?
The registration can be done online. For foreigners, it's online. And walk-in only in centers where you're registered, but you cannot get vaccine through walk-in. You need to register. For Thai nationals, people were getting vaccine weeks ago already to be able to get the vaccine starting today. Okay. But I don't think the Thai government is ready to implement vaccination for all on an equal basis without any bias. I don't think the government is ready for that.
I understand. And has the Thai government come out and said anything? Have they said, look, we plan to get everybody vaccinated by the end of, I'm guessing here, by the end of July or by the end of August? Have they said anything like that?
They said that they are trying to get 70% of the population vaccinated by the end of the year, and they are hoping to deliver a herd immunity by the end of the year as well.
Okay. And Thailand's made up of a lot of islands as well. Are these islands getting looked after too? It's not just mainland Thailand?
Yeah, our islands are part of Thailand as well. So also islands are also going through partial lockdown. There's also screening going on. So yeah, there's a screening ongoing. Yeah.
Excellent. You know, Emilie, thank you very much for joining me today here on A News and talking to us about how things are.